I have 2 siblings, and of the 3 of us, I'm the eldest. My little brother C, the middle kid, is the logician. A math major, a tutor, he went to study in South Korea, and he's just incredible with math and numbers. My little sister A is the youngest, and she's the dreamer. She's flighty, silly, funny, very good at art and cosplay, and also really good with animals. In fact, she works at an animal shelter, and is much better at raising them than I'll ever be. Meanwhile, my talents lie somewhere in between. I'm better at writing and creating things than my brother is, and better at staying focused than my sister is, but worse at socializing than my sister, and worse at math than my brother. But none of us are perfect. My little sister sometimes can be gullible and emotional. My little brother can sometimes be stilted, cold, and unemotional. And I can sometimes be harsh, come off as angry, get irrational, and be difficult. My brother stupidly likes to overdo things. He's conquering a cigarette addiction, and has been blackout drunk more than once. My sister tends to overreact and get angry, then cry about it when she feels unheard. And I get angry and blame myself about it way too much, self-esteem sometimes too low despite my accomplishments. I just have trouble believing in myself, I guess. Sometimes I miss deadlines. Sometimes my brother says the wrong thing. Sometimes my sister argues. We don't agree on everything, and we never will. We're just different people with different tastes and personalities, and slightly different experiences, despite having a shared bloodline. But my siblings look up to me as the older sister. I think. My sister does, at least, maybe not my brother. Sometimes I wonder if he's jealous of me, or if he isn't impressed with my life. Sometimes I wonder if my sister is disappointed in me, or doesn't see me as a strong enough role model. After all, I used to have my own issues in the past. Untreated ADHD, anxiety, autism, and depression. Trauma that caused me to lash out like a monster and hurt everyone around me. I wish I could take that back, but I can't. I've apologized a lot for it, but I still feel guilty for doing it, even though I wasn't at fault. I still feel protective of my family, and still feel like I need to make it up to them. Even though we've all changed so much, me, my family, and I, some things just never change. It's times when I look at my life, seeing the small haven I've built for myself in another city, in another state, far from my family, that I think of Akinar and Cirrus, Yeesha and Atrus, Katran and Gen, and all of their family history. It's times like this I think of Myst IV Revelation, and realize that maybe things haven't changed that much at all. Myst IV Revelation, which I'll be calling Revelation or Myst IV for the sake of brevity, has an odd history behind it. If you've seen my Exile retrospective, you'll know it's tied to the acquisition of the Myst series by Ubisoft, after Cyan opened bidding to make another sequel while they worked on Uru. Exile was crafted by Presto Studios, and had relatively smooth development, despite meaning to come forth in the series as a coda to it, but its sister, Revelation, had a rockier path in life. For starters, it wasn't a Cyan game, which is probably why it feels like it's not. It was first developed by the now-defunct Dreamforge, the creators of Sanitarium, as the third in the series. It had the same plot as the current Myst IV, featuring the return of Cirrus and Achenar, Atrus' sons, and a subplot involving an older Yeesha being kidnapped. The prototype, called Adventure Beyond the Dunny Ultra World, yes really, it was a programming in-joke, had 3 ages partially developed for it before it was scrapped when Ubisoft purchased the Myst rights. This meant that Myst IV got shoved towards being later than intended for the series, while Exile got moved up. But it did give Ubisoft more time to redevelop the game in order to better fit the plot that it had. Ubisoft has a really bad reputation now, but in 2004 it was a smaller and more positively received studio, with more resources. It used those resources to their fullest, rehiring Jack Wall as the game's composer, and building on the technical mold-breaking of Exile by creating a whole new engine for the game called Alive. Ubisoft wanted Revelation to feel as real as possible, and this game engine allowed for that by making the environments more rich, the animal behavior more realistic, and some elements more touch-reactive. You can even zap yourself on electrical objects and trace patterns in water, and tapping objects will make the expected sound. Wood sounds like wood, glass like glass, etc. They also updated the hand cursor, allowing more realistic movements, new animations, and for the first time ever, customizable skin tone. You can even have a little green alien hand if you want. Ubisoft also took more risks and changed several things for the game. They added a new journal and camera mechanic so players could take notes, including access to an online hint guide by partner Prima Gaming, and added accessibility features like subtitles and adjustable graphics options. You can even make the game have more or less ambient music if you want, for a more Myst or Riven-like experience. Also added was a new mechanic, a necklace that shows flashbacks of information around the ages the player visits, giving a whole new spin on solving puzzles and finding hints for a new generation of puzzle gamers. Combined with the same world-building and interesting stories that Myst had come to be known for, the stage was set for Revelation to be the biggest and most technically impressive, best Myst game yet. So then, why is it a forgotten sequel? Why, like Cirrus and Achenar themselves, was it shoved away in a collective memory prison age? Why, unlike its siblings, did Myst IV Revelation fall so flat? The most obvious feeling a returning player who is familiar with Myst might get from Revelation is that it just feels different. Not bad, not off per se, but different. And it starts as soon as you look at what the story has to offer you. Revelation's plot revolves around a simple concept. The stranger learns that the brothers from Myst, Cirrus and Achenar, are alive and well, and are living on 2 prison ages called Spire and Haven, and have been for about 20 years. Katran feels they've learned their lesson since they treat their little sister Yeesha with kindness. Atrus, though, unsure, wants a third opinion and asks you, his friend, to weigh in. Unfortunately, while doing this, Atrus' viewer short-circuits and he has to go to Rhyme to get parts, but he ends up stranded there in an electrical storm, leaving you to babysit Yeesha and get the backup power restored. Once you do this, though, you're knocked out by an explosion and wake up that evening with Yeesha still missing and Atrus still having to hole up on Rhyme. It's now once again up to you to save Yeesha and figure out who is to blame, because it's clearly one of the brothers if not both, and bring them to justice. At first glance, this seems like a nice callback to Myst after the sidetrack that was Exile, a tense family drama that unfolds like a detective mystery, and even pretty much feels like one with some of the mechanics. It even reflects and recycles Myst's original concept that one of the brothers isn't as wicked as they first seem. In fact, this time, the obviously spooky brother Achenar is less wicked than his clean-cut and seemingly reasonable little brother Cirrus, similar to how you may have trusted Cirrus in Myst first and hated Achenar. The unfolding story then has you explore their prison ages for clues, like any good detective would, similar to Myst, where you found and explored their rooms. This feels like a nice throwback from start to finish, each age reflecting the mental states of their occupants, similar to Savidro's lair in Exile. Better still, you get to see the brothers gain actual character, and see how their minds work, Again, a lot like Exile. So if your favorite Myst character happens to be one of the brothers, Revelation will be a great time. As for the new ones, Yeesha is a bit flat, but it's to be expected. She's a 10-year-old child. She's not going to have a fully fleshed out personality yet. However, I do want to say the child actress for her really does well. She sells Yeesha as being friendly, cute, and likable. When she's scared, she really looks afraid. And when she's not herself, well, it's a bit wooden. But then, an adult trying to pretend he's a little girl would be, wouldn't he? No, the problems with Revelation don't come from the plot or characters. Those are all the expected quality for Myst, even the bit parts like the Serenians. The problem comes from other things, such as some of the more controversial ideas the game tries. Speaking of which, change is never easy, but it's inevitable. Especially in a long-running game series like Myst that tends to recycle the same formula of person trapped, Atrus needs help, go be a big damn hero. Revelation is no exception to this rule, being the fourth game after all and needing to bring new ideas to the table. Games were changing a lot in 2004, moving towards greater realism and new tools, and so rather than be conventional like the Riven remake or enhance the already invented wheel like Exile, Revelation decided to get experimental, and not every fan of the series liked that. First of all, there's the big new mechanics in your inventory. The game gives you a journal and a camera, and expects you to use them where a notepad might suffice. It also included a link to an online strategy guide at launch in the main menu. Some fans found this too hand-holdy, and others found it extremely useful. Then there's that third big new tool, Yeesha's necklace. You're supposed to use this to view memories of specific places, which is, I guess, sort of like a precursor to the Moiety Spyglass in the Riven remake in a way. It's a neat mechanic, though it feels a little un-Myst-like and can very much feel like a Hunt the Pixel Fest just to find what you need to look at to trigger it. The necklace also reads journals for you, in case you wanted to, I dunno, hear Guy Sprung say he wants to decorate his kingdom with bones or something. However, the necklace occasionally verges into telling solutions rather than showing them, and plays into a frankly unnecessary karma system that every game had shoehorned into it at the time. More on that later. Then there's that dreaded thing all game fandoms face when a franchise lives long enough. Retcons. Gone is the concept of trap books and the brothers being dead for good. Those two books you placed pages in during Myst are now full-on prison ages. That means that now long-term fans have to fan theory and rethink how harsh Atrus was with his sons, as well as how the stranger interacted with the brothers in the first place, if they ever did so in Myst. In a franchise that tries to make itself feel like it's adjacent to, or almost is, reality, this sort of change to long-established concepts can feel jarring at best, a decision which divided fans even further. And that's not even counting how Gen is in a trap book. How's he in a trap book if those don't exist anymore? Either you like this element and accept it as a bit of historical revisionism, or you think it's pointless and stupid. But either way, it's not too hard to figure out a plausible explanation. I just figure the stranger actually went to the prison ages to talk with each brother, and each tried to trick them that way, no pages required. But it's still kind of annoying for those who have been here a while confusing the hell out of newcomers to the series. Seriously, my friend's girlfriend found the page and trap book thing really weird because she played Myst IV before the other games. Revelation was her introduction to the Dunnyverse. Maybe Ubisoft should have thought about that a bit more? Then there's the cursor. I mean, just look at this thing. Look how sluggish it is and finicky it is to use. It constantly misses cursor hotspots, to the point that you almost end up hunting invisible pixels sometimes. That's all because Ubisoft decided it needed to be animated and to do pointless things like be able to play with water, and zap yourself on an electrical grid, and tap things to make realistic noise. Yeah, don't get me wrong, this is really cute and fun and all, but why? It feels like a tech demo. Surely, the game's beautiful graphics would have felt just fine without this. Why was it necessary? I'd really rather there be an option for the original cursor, like Riven Remake has. You can even change the skin tone color in that game too, so it was certainly possible in 2004 to do it that way. But the real thing I think divided fans, and which personally turns me off about Revelation, is the puzzles. Oh yeah, if you've played this game, you know what I'm talking about here, and it's this. While the puzzles in Revelation do feel like they fit their ages, do tell the story of them, and are thematic for the most part, they also get really lazy, really arbitrary, and just aren't all that fun to complete sometimes. This can lead to them feeling a bit like puzzles for the sake of having puzzles, made needlessly easier or harder because, well, it's a Myst game. You have to have puzzles, right? In Haven, you do this weird monkey game that involves using the often finicky controls to rotate wheels in real time. In Spire, you have a puzzle where you need to use those same controls to push sliders up hard-to-see notches. And in Serenia, half the puzzles are just minigames and a fetch quest. Those first two puzzles I mentioned also are timed, and both were horribly bugged at launch, to the point that a patch had to be released to make it actually solvable, because the timer moved too fast. In most of the game, the logic is sound, but what the game sometimes asks of the player can stretch credibility and feel obnoxious if not tedious. And a puzzle in a Myst game shouldn't feel that way. At best, you should notice it's a puzzle after it's made clear it's part of the world, like the ones in Riven. And at worst, it's something that obviously is a puzzle but makes sense to be there, like the puzzles in Exile. It all feels a little hollow, just a bit. If Ubisoft spent half the time making the puzzles more fun, rather than just trying to make the game look pretty or pushing the limits of tech for the time, maybe Revelation would be less of a red-headed stepchild. Maybe with better puzzles, what Revelation does do right could really shine. Because what it does do right is incredible. Revelation is a breathtakingly beautiful game for 2004, and I mean that sincerely, as it should be. Ubisoft wanted the Alive engine to make everything feel more real, more beautiful, and more, well, alive. These graphics still hold up today. If you told me that this was a game made in 2004 and I didn't know any better, I wouldn't have believed you. I mean, look at how realistic for the time this water is, this crystal, this moving plant. Just like its sibling Exile, you explore 3D nodes that are in such high fidelity, you can feel and smell these textures through your screen. It even kept the solar lens flare looking up at the sun. The only real flaw in this engine is the admittedly primitive and rough depth of field effect. It's just not quite up to snuff. But for 2004, this sort of clarity is just revolutionary, a sign of what games were yet to become only a decade later. The ages of Revelation are, in my opinion, the best part about it. Not just the plot for them, but their design as well. So let's look at them now. Starting off in Tamana, we have what amounts to a steampunk paradise of a home. Like, tell me you don't want to live here! It's so cozy and beautiful and interesting that it could be anyone's aesthetic. Day or night, it's really easy to get cozy and feel comfortable here, making it a very good hub world. Just like Myst and Exile before, it's just odd enough to be fantastical, but just familiar enough to be slightly liminal and uncomfortable, though I don't think it quite reaches the levels of Myst Island or Jananan. Then you find out about Haven and Spire, and the game's mood takes a turn. Let's be frank here. Neither of these two ages feel comfortable at all. Haven feels unforgivingly savage, while Spire feels harsh and cold. They also have Myst trademark storytelling done through the world, done to perfection. Both these ages feel perfectly suited for each brother living there, with Achenar reflecting his love for hunting and nature, and Spire reflecting Sirius's haughty ambition and hubris. Haven feels hostile and prickly at first, but slowly opens up, while Spire stays cold and hostile, but hides an ambitious core. Seriously, Spire may be the best example of storytelling through a world that I've ever seen since Riven. Ubisoft was clearly taking at least some notes from Cyan's homework here. It just expertly blends Sirius's personality into its theming, along with showing his slow descent into madness, paralleled by how you descend through Spire's cloud layers. Despite the acting being a bit cheesy in both ages, the game really does a great job showing how each brother adapted to their prison, with Akinar embracing it and Sirius going mad from the isolation, but both learning how to make it their own. You really feel how these characters have changed over their imprisonment, and it really helps make them their own people, especially when they were so one-note in Myst. It's a marker of how good Mary DeMarle, the writer for Revelation and Exile, is at character studies. First, Severo gets a whole game, and now the brothers get their own ages, fleshed out in detail to the point that you truly get who they are and have become. It's excellent stuff, even though characters like Atrus and Katran fall slightly flat since they're not the focus. Then there's Jack Wall's excellent music, which expertly weaves each brother's themes from Myst into the soundtrack to truly make them feel a part of the ages they've come to inhabit. It's a lot like Severo's theme being present everywhere in Exile, but a little less subtle than Gen's theme being everywhere in Riven. And then there's this eerie piece that plays in Sirius's bedroom on Spire. Yeah, I haven't been this unnerved by Myst music since Severo's lair in Jananin or Gen's temple on Riven. Jack Wall just nails the vibe here, and it's great! But if all we had to talk about here were those three ages and how well designed they are, or the plot and how well we see the characters develop, we wouldn't be here. No, now we need to discuss the elephant in the room, and it's a pretty big one, because it has to do with the end of the game and the Atrus family storyline. Ladies and gentlemen, Serenia. Oh, Serenia. Where do I even begin with this age? It's a beautiful age, with rolling gentle streams, bright blue skies, soothing ocean waters, and plenty of interesting ancient stone structures that act as temples, all of it looking lived in and extremely real, especially for 2004. The people you meet in this metaphysical age are suitably zen, inscrutable, mysterious, and charming, like meeting a monk in a monastery. And the music is as serene as its namesake age. It's the perfect foil as an endgame area for such a dark plot as the kidnapping of a little girl. But it's also the first time we see such deep mysticism aspects in Myst. Normally, Myst hews close to reality, more like science fiction as seen via a steampunk lens. But here, Myst IV delves into the realm of science fantasy for the first time in the series. And if you're not expecting that, it's jarring. Then again, it is an age written by Katran, and she's linked to some pretty wild ages, so it does make some sort of sense. All the same though, it's an omen of where the franchise will go later, exploring strange uses of the art and bringing in wilder concepts, like its own spin on ancient aliens, all while explaining the Dunny culture in more depth. Whether or not you like Serenia really depends on what you like in Myst. So if you don't like the idea of mysticism in Myst, Revelation might be a disappointment to you. More egregious, though, isn't Serenia's vibe, or even where the endgame goes. All that in terms of plot is fine. Instead, it's one thing I mentioned earlier, a particular thing that sticks in my craw and really gets to me, souring my entire Myst IV experience. The puzzles in Serenia, or rather, the lack thereof. Oh sure, it starts off okay. First, you have a water wheel puzzle that feels a lot like Riven, and adds lots of character to the age. Then you have a puzzle where you have to find another way across this broken bridge. And then you have a puzzle where you need to drain a well to access the final area of the game, where the endgame confrontation occurs. That's not the issue here. All of those are fine. My issue is with the rest of what you do in Serenia, after a long sequence of logical puzzles in this age and every other age, because half of the tasks in Serenia are really not puzzles. Not at all. In fact, 1's a tedious fetch quest type mechanic with finicky controls, and 3 are just logic games with similar tedious controls, the kind of thing you can download from the App Store. I don't know what these last 4 tasks are, but they're definitely not Myst, and definitely not puzzles. Yeah, non-puzzle puzzles in a Myst game. It really sounds wrong, doesn't it? Lazy, like Ubisoft couldn't think of anything else, or had to rush it out the door for release. And of course, the 3 most tedious all have to do with Serenia's spiritual element, the subrealm known as Dream. Remember how I said that Myst IV decided to get experimental and try new things? Well, one of the new things it decided to try was a karma system. In this case, to find you a spirit guide to go into Dream and find Yeesha. It's actually pretty well designed for 2004 standards, though if you play Myst as intended, you're pretty much guaranteed to always get water. The problem isn't that system, but what comes after the results are given. You have to go give the guide an offering related to their element, and you only have about 4 clicks to get to them, and you can't make any sudden motions either, otherwise your offering will explode. You have to move painstakingly slowly through this maze-like forest of stone pillars, and hope you make it before your offering breaks. I don't know about you, but not only is this tedious and not what I came to a Myst game for, it's deeply unfun. Myst already gets heavily criticized for being obtuse and asking you to hunt pixels, and now we're adding a fetch quest? It's just not a great look, and it smacks of Ubisoft treating the game more like a tech demo or typical game of the time, not a serious endeavor and not a Myst game. Then we get to Dream, and let's be honest here. Do your dreams look like this? Mine don't. This Tower of Hanoi-like puzzle at the end, this brush the blorbos to impart your energy puzzle that is tedious and finicky. Neither of these are fun, and they don't feel like puzzles. They feel like board games. Myst isn't about that. It's about using logic to solve puzzles. What's the logic of these? They're just tasks you're doing. Logical ones with a solution to them, yes, but are they actually Myst-like in any way? I don't think they are. I'm not sure what they thought would make sense here, but this really isn't what I would have gone with in Dream, especially after the pretty awesome Peter Gabriel music video that we get while going here. And speaking of which, he voices the Dream Guide, which isn't that a little, I don't know, pretentious of him to also have one of the songs take up a whole sequence like that and then voice a character too? Don't get me wrong, it's cool to have him here, but I mean, he's not even playing a major character. I mean, it's not like Brad Dourif playing Saavedra, where he's this big fan of the series and really wanted to influence it and be part of the world. This is a bit part. And one song. If Peter Gabriel's a Myst fan, this almost feels insulting to him. And if he's not, why was he used here? It just feels a bit excessive, and more than a little weird. But I guess when all you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like Squeeze. And when all you have is Peter Gabriel, this. Myst IV Revelation tried. It really did try. It wanted to be as cinematic as Exile, as realistic as Riven, and have the same enjoyable gameplay loop as Myst, all while calling back to all 3 games. Like Yeesha, it trusted that fans would see what it was trying to do, but unfortunately got a harsh wake-up call when the fan base split over it. Like Cirrus, it experimented with new things and made some revolutionary updates to the formula, but was never quite appreciated for it. And like Akanar, it tried to do the right thing by focusing on finishing the Atrus family story, only to end up sacrificing the old at the end for the new. I could talk for another half hour about why this game seems to be the flawed brother of the Myst Saga, but we're running a bit long, so I'll just point out what I appreciate about it as a Myst fan instead. I appreciate that Revelation tried new things. Even though the Spirit Guide karma system feels like a chore, back in 2004, it really was something revolutionary and new, something that was a bold choice for this type of story-driven puzzle game that added replayability and encouraged playing differently. I appreciate Jack Wall's bold music that feels like a movie score and really sets the tone and mood of the game, emphasizing the character's emotions and mental states, despite the fact that sometimes this means the game isn't very quiet, though you can always change that with a setting in the options. I appreciate that Ubisoft tried so hard to make this game feel as real as possible, to the point you really do become immersed in these worlds, and that it did this earlier than many other games at the time. I want to emphasize, this stuff, what Revelation was doing, was revolutionary for its time. Not a lot of other games out there looked and felt quite like this, let alone puzzle games. And I appreciate that the developers and actors cared about the story and franchise enough to develop Cirrus and Akinar into fully fledged characters, just like Gen, Katran, Savidro, and Atrus before them, while also introducing someone new to carry the torch of the Myst franchise in Yeesha. Yes, the acting is sometimes cheesy, yes, the game's dialogue comes off a little wooden sometimes, but I feel like now, I know these characters. I know Cirrus's ambition and Akinar's hidden sensitivity, just the same as I know Gen's ego and Savidro's desperation. And that's always a good thing. Ubisoft might have slightly missed the mark on the Myst DNA, but it opened up the way for so much more to be possible in this universe. And I just think that's awesome. Most of all, despite everything that's flawed about it, I appreciate Revelation for giving us a solid, fitting end to Atrus' story, while opening up a new chapter in Yeesha's story that will carry over to Uru and End of Ages. There's dedicated fans of this game, just like the others. There's even a patch now called Myst IV Revolution that eliminates a lot of the game's jankiness. Really, you can go download it on GitHub now. There really isn't a better time to go back and finally put the story of the brothers to rest. Myst IV Revelation is, just like its siblings, and just like my siblings, a good game, a good sibling, and a good part of the Myst franchise. It's not a fluke, it's not a bad sequel, and it really has been treated much too harshly. I know I criticized it a lot, but I really do like this game. It's not perfect, no, but I think it was exactly what the franchise needed to finish strong. And I think any Myst fan who had reservations about the game before really does owe it to themselves to finally give it a shot. After all, who knows what your dreams will reveal to you if you do.
Oh, draw the blind.